What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Blind Ray, aka Ray Montgomery, on the Outside Looking In podcast. And today I got my guy Mike Harding with us today, joining us for some conversation. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing good, bro. Thanks for having me.
Man, I wanted to bring you on the podcast because we got some similar stories, similar backgrounds, and been through a lot as blind man. But I just wanted to let people know your story and what you've been through, as a young man coming up in Indianapolis, Indiana, and how blindness has actually, impacted your life and impacted your family's life. To be fair. So, could you talk about a little bit back in 2018 how your life changed when you found out that you were losing your vision?
Well, at that point in time, my life had actually changed for the better. I was working as a diesel technician
Right.
with the largest truck dealership in Indianapolis, and you know, I pretty much was at work one day, and I noticed I had like a quarter-size black spot in my visual field. Um, Left work that day thinking I was just gonna go get checked out and come back to work, and it ended up being like within 60 days I was barely able to see myself in the mirror.
Right.
It was kind of
How
like,
old were you at that time?
I was 31.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So,
Yes.
so at that time, I know, did you have any children at that time?
Oh yeah. I had all three of my children. I had my oldest daughter, which is now 18.
Hmm.
Um my son, he's 15, and my youngest daughter, she'll be 12 in August. So
Oh, okay.
they kind of went through it with me. But
Yeah, yeah. Talk about
they
that.
were
How do you think they were affected, with you, going through what you had to go through with, losing your vision?
I feel like my kids were pretty much, you know, I feel like it affected them a bit more than it affected me because I was making good money and I spoiled them
Yeah,
all the time. So I wasn't able to do all those things because I went into depression and isolation. I wasn't engaging at, the school activities, like football or, basketball, different things like that. My daughters were in like dance, cheerleading, all of that
yeah,
kind of stopped for me. And you know, also not to mention, like my income changed drastically. I think at that point in time when I lost my vision, so I didn't work no more after that. My tax, um I had made like 58,000 that year, and it wasn't even the end of the year yet. So
right.
uh, a lot of that stuff changed, but uh, I would say it's really not what happened to me is more of how I reacted to it. And I'm kind of
Yeah,
speaking, after the fact on that one because I was good at the time, had
yeah.
like 5 cars, like, I
Okay.
was good. Everything was good because I was living a swell life, at that time. But it wasn't always like that for me.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, man, definitely. So in 2018, what was your diagnosis though? Was it RP? Was it glaucoma? What was your diagnosis?
I have optic nerve damage.
Okay.
And actually I feel like I was misdiagnosed at the time because that was the outcome of everything. But when it was first going on, I feel like the doctors were kind of chasing their tail trying to figure it out. And just me doing a little more investigations, like my eye pressures that got really high, which is similar to glaucoma, and it damaged my optic nerve. So I feel like I had glaucoma and just didn't know it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that runs rampant in, our black community. That's something that we don't really get our eyes
Yeah,
checked about something we need to do.
yeah,
It's like a silent thief right there of sight. So I know a lot of people don't know that, but yeah, that's something that's real.
yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely. As I was I was doing a lot of self-medicating at the time. You know,
yeah,
Mary Jane was kind of my best friend. So
right.
I feel like that was probably keeping my eye pressures under control. But by the time things spiraled out of control, you know, I'm like talking to the doctors and saying, like, how this happened all of a sudden? They're like, nah, this didn't happen all of a sudden. This something was going on. You just didn't know it.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, man, that's tough right there, man. But you was able to bounce back, man. So tell me, what steps did you take to, get reclaim your independence, reclaim your life?
Well, I had a couple. Well, like I said, I was going through a lot of isolation and depression at the time
Yeah.
when I lost my vision because, you know, I wasn't comfortable going outside. You know, I couldn't see. You know, I had a Cadillac on 24s. You know, a
Okay.
new um Chrysler 300. You know, Chevy pickup truck. I had several cars, so I just wasn't comfortable going out because I couldn't
Yeah.
see. You know, and
Right, right.
Indianapolis got a lot of snakes around, so.
Oh yeah.
Um, I just wasn't comfortable. So at that time, I looked up and I noticed, you know, I wasn't coming out the house for like weeks and months at a time. And then I had a, you know, believe it or not, you know, because I'm way stronger than this, but I had a suicide attempt because I kind of hit
Mm,
rock bottom. And
damn.
you know, I'm pretty much writing a book about my life, a memoir. And
Mm,
it kind of starts with that, you know, where it's actually a true story. Like, as I was in the process of doing what I did, you know, God is real. You know, He created a situation outside because my kids was outside playing, and I'm kind of in the bedroom, you know, contemplating, you know, death, you know, just all the above that was going on
yeah.
at that time. And you know, as I, you know, had raised that, you know, my pistol up to my head that last time, it's like I'm about to do it, you know. I heard the front door open up, and it was a lady that was like, "Mike, they out here trying to fight your daughter." And you
Mm,
know, just from that right there, you know, that stopped me from doing what I was about to do. You know,
right.
which would have been giving up on my future and you know my kids and all that. So from that point right there, like that night, I believe I had a dream. You know, and I was like laying down, and my youngest daughter like threw some flowers over me, like "Bye, Daddy." And I was like, you know, I'll never entertain that thought again. And from there, you know, I would stop being so stubborn and all that. I went to Bosma and decided to go ahead and get me some help to learn how to live with blindness. And, you know, things were up from there. You know, I met
Yeah.
people within the Circle City chapter of the National Federation of the Blind. And, you know, I've
Yeah.
started to
Definitely.
shake back.
Definitely. I mean, you talk about not leaving the house for like 2 weeks, man. When I lost my sight, I didn't want to leave the house, like you said. I didn't really want nobody to see me. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
was trying to deal with, what the perception of me was going to be like now. You know what I'm saying? And, like you said, blindness is an isolating disability at times, man, because sometimes you can feel all alone when you
Oh,
dealing
yeah.
with darkness at the end of the day, man.
Right.
That shit ain't no joke. So, yeah,
Right.
I definitely, man, commend you for just keep going on with that, man. So you went to start to do
Oh,
some rehabilitation, man, doing some training to learn to
yeah.
live with your blindness. Talk about that experience.
Okay. Well, you know, I had to kind of, you know, pull myself together because you know, I wanted to be there. I just started after that little suicide attempt I was telling you about.
Yeah,
Like I just started to have thoughts like of what my kids' life would be without me, and you know, the strong, you know, father figure I had been prior to blindness. And I was like, you know, I'm gonna just keep going. So, you know, it was still a struggle. You know,
yeah,
I had like a close relationship with my friends from the neighborhood, my day ones. You know, they several of them dropped off. You know, a lot of people that was around me started to fade away. You
yep,
know, And
Oh yeah, been through that too, man. I was a young buck when I lost my sight. I was fresh out of high school, so yeah, people that you were just cool with 2 weeks ago, they act like they didn't even know who you was. But I
yeah,
found out, bro, that to be a good thing, though, man. Because some of them,
oh
like
yeah,
you said, there's a lot of snakes, man. So you can't let
hmm
everybody in your circle, man. Definitely when you can't see, so you definitely can't trust everybody
oh
around
yeah.
you, bro. So yeah,
Yeah, for sure. And then, a lot of my friends were still, in the streets,
right,
doing what they do. And it was just like, I just came around and was like, I can't really be riding or sitting in no spot or,
right,
nothing like that
boy,
because, my situation, they may have to get up out of there or anything could happen. So, I just
you ever,
pretty
you
much,
ever, you ever go to the club, man, when you couldn't see, man? I can tell you stories about that, but every like go out, like you say, being in certain situations, certain night spots that you
yeah,
shouldn't be in, you know what I'm saying? And you look like a target sometimes. I can say you look like a target, but you more vulnerable because you maneuver like the way you want to maneuver. You know what I'm
oh
saying?
yeah, I'm, definitely. I was a little more skeptical. I really wasn't the type to really just go out all the time,
Right.
and I was more like neighborhood. I'm there posted things like that. But I did start to go out once I you know started to accept what was
Yeah.
going on. And but it was just still like, I didn't want to be all the way in the mix. I had to be in VIP, at a
Yeah.
table or something,
Right.
which is
Right.
really kind of weird because that the cane, I call it the cane shame. You don't want to be out in public
Yeah.
with your cane and you know what I
Right.
mean?
Right. Right.
So I dealt with that a lot. I still deal with it honestly,
Yeah.
I'll use it. Um when I have to, or if you know what I mean. So,
Yeah.
but
Definitely.
yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely, man. So yeah, talk about that, man. Your training and how your training that helps you, reclaim your independence.
Oh yeah, I was, went through the program over there at Bosma. I had, my ones that I, gravitated to, Bill Powell, John, I can't really think of was it Trina kind of helped me learn Braille and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was saying, Bill Powell helped me learn how to use the computer again, which was,
Yeah.
huge because, once I lost my vision, that was something that I lost too, but once I learned how
Yeah.
to use, the screen readers and, learn how to, pretty much memorize the keyboard and all that. So that helped me out a lot. And, as I had was saying, I was working as a diesel technician prior, so I already had my mindset that I was going to go to school to be a mechanical engineer. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like I'm gonna still stick to my thing. You know what I mean? Even though I'm blind, like I'm gonna go on back to school.
Right.
So I went. I was like, I had a lot of people that was kind of discouraging me. Even some family like, how you gonna go to school? Like
Oh
you
yeah.
can't
Oh
do
yeah.
that, or uh
You just
was
sit back and
once I
collect your check, man. You can get this check. You can get some Section 8. Man, that ain't no joke. And I don't understand that concept didn't sit well with me. So I mean, it took
uh
me a while to get out of my rut. I ain't gonna say I just jumped out, was blind, and then I started getting the job. But man, it's hard out here to get gainful
oh yeah,
employment, man. It's probably over 70% of us who ain't working. Probably more than that want to
yes.
get gainful employment. So, but yeah,
I was
that's
kind
our
of
friends. They don't understand. So yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I was kind of used to dealing with a little bit more money, so I couldn't
Right.
be really comfortable with the Social Security
Mm-mm.
just by itself. Although I was, you know what I mean, it helped me maintain. But I got younger kids; they want Jordans, and
Oh yeah.
I started to introduce them to the finer things in life, and we dress a certain type of way, or you know what I mean, like all of that. I couldn't do all
Mm-hmm.
that with just Social Security alone. So,
Oh no.
um, yeah, I decided to go on back to school because Um, a lot of interviews I was going on, believe it or not, what I found after I got all of my training and all that, I left out like a champ, head held high. And, I'm going on interviews in a cab by myself and all that, and it was like, dang, I'm still dealing with, the same discrimination,
Yeah, yeah.
I call it three B's, I'm a big blind black, guy. So
Right,
uh
right.
I still had to deal with that discrimination, even though I, what I'm saying, was going in, I remember one time I went on an interview and it was a guy that was supposed to be working. He was another worker that was already there. He's like, man, you look like you will mess somebody up. And I'm thinking, how do I look like that? And I got, a cane in my hand
Right, right,
and I'm blind.
right.
So, I just
Yeah,
dealt with a lot of that discrimination and that kind of pushed me to go back to school too. Cause, I had graduated from college prior to that. And, the kind of money that I was making prior to blindness, it was like, I guess I can say I was overqualified for a lot of the positions that I was going after. And everything happens for a reason.
yeah, yeah.
So I decided to do the school thing and it's opened up a lot of doors for me. I've, been into some great places, some great companies. I'm on the board of directors at Lutheran Child and
Okay,
Family Services. I worked at Eskenazi, I'm doing my social work thing.
okay.
Um, I've been
You just
around.
graduated, right?
Oh yeah. So I just graduated with my bachelor's in social work and I'm starting a graduate program. So
Okay.
yeah, I'm doing a lot of big things and it's not over. I'm coming back to clear my name up. So
How long did it take
I,
you to get back to feeling like your old self again?
um
Are you still
I
going through
wouldn't
that
say I'm
process?
quite back to my old self, but
Yeah.
that may be a good thing.
Right.
But I don't know. I still go through it. Like
Yeah.
I tell people, like I ain't gonna wake up one day and just say, "Oh, I'm blind, I'm happy." I don't know. I still go through it with that, but I don't dwell in it.
Right.
Um, I used to say, I don't know how I'm doing it, but I know how I'm doing it. It's God. I was always pretty much my grandma's raised me, in the church as a youngster, but I strayed away from that. Once I got, a little up in age, I
Yeah.
was running the streets, hanging out, me and my, my guys.
Yeah.
That landed me in juvenile countless times, boys school 3 times, the county jail. I've been in prison, you know. But that don't define me because,
Right.
I've been successful, uh, in the books, and I've been successful in the streets. So, I'm still kicking.
Talk about that though, man. Like, because I talk to a lot of people who lost their vision or are losing their vision, man, and I talk to them about like just real stuff. Like sometimes you gotta have some street smarts out here, man, because people be trying
Oh
to
yeah.
play games with you when you can't see. So, man, just talk about how that kind of really helped you, peep game on certain people when they trying to run game on you.
Oh yeah. You know how they say, when you lose one sense, another sense
Yeah.
gets stronger. So I got what I say is a bullshit meter. I can read people when
Oh
they,
yeah.
what I'm saying. So I got that sense. I'm able to read people, and I pretty much ain't no squares in my circle. I keep fake people from around me. If you don't mean me no good, I don't need you around me. So
Right.
um, I just try to stay away from people. Like I still got, a couple of my guys from the hood that's kept it real with me, and they don't come around as much as I would want them to, but they do still come around. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you know,
That's what's
I
up.
just like I tell people, like my friends, they always laugh at me because they come around me and I got my pistol on my hip and they like, man, you can't. And I'm like, I done this. You know what I'm saying? I always tell people, if you lose your vision today, you ain't gonna forget how to tie your shoe.
Nope,
So,
nope.
you know what I mean? That was something I was doing before. I always, was toting, straps and all that. So that's just, second nature to me. So, and I've also developed other senses,
Yeah,
like I was saying, that allows me that's been enhanced. So like my hearing is everything. I can hear, certain things. Like I'm sitting here now, but if somebody opens up the gate outside, like I can hear that, or a car pull
yeah.
up outside, like I'm able to pick up on all that. So
Hmm.
uh, yeah, my
Yeah, yeah,
senses are heightened.
yeah. Before I get you out of here, man, talk about your advocacy work, man, with the National Federation of the Blind and how, being around people who are blind has really been a great support system for you.
Well, like I said, when I met pretty much Lee Martin and he introduced me to the Circle City chapter, I noticed, I was around, a good grain of people, and I was happy that was one thing that made me happy to be around, people that was like me that was out here, still making things happen and being successful. So I started out um pretty much as a sponge and soaked up all the game that was being put out there to me. Now what I'm saying, I'm pretty much the chair of the student division of the National Federation of the Blind. I'm co-chairing the national the NOBBL
Yeah,
men's group, so I'm doing a little bit.
yeah, yeah,
I'm kind
definitely.
of moving up. So but I'm pretty much, I'm the kind of person I'd rather be behind the scenes. I don't want to be all in the spotlight and, you know, flying around at nationals and all that. Like I ain't with all that. I'd rather stay at, in my city and,
Yeah,
uplift my people and, invest in
right,
my
right.
community. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that's kind of, how I am with it. So like I got a Circle City chapter. We got a good group of people and they all real, you know what I'm saying? Like we ain't really sugarcoating nothing and it is what it is.
It is what it is, brother. Well, I appreciate your time, Mike Hardin, man, coming on the Outside Looking In podcast, man, chopping it up with me today, man, and let the people know what it is about, blindness and how we, still able to live a life that we want to live at the end of the day, man. So definitely
Oh
appreciate
yeah.
you
We
coming
we
on and
out
rocking it.
here. We out here. I'm doing, more, like even though my vision hasn't been restored, my life has. I
Yeah,
became a homeowner. I done graduated college, for a second time. Like I got a lot of good things that's going for me. So,
yeah,
blindness really ain't stopping nothing. I ain't laying down to nothing. It's just another obstacle. You
that's
get
so
in life, you gotta play the cards you dealt until it's your turn to deal. And that's just what it is.
That's what it is. That's what it is. Well, appreciate you, man. And definitely make sure y'all subscribe to the Outside Looking In podcast on SoundCloud, Apple Music, wherever you get your podcasts. And make sure you follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Blind Ray Live. And I'll check y'all out next week.